After being hospitalized due to gastric cancer, my husband walked into the ward arm in arm with his first love. The son I had raised for 8 years took that woman's hand and called her mom, in a clear voice. In the midst of intense pain and drowsiness, the diamond ring on the first love's hand stemmed my eyes. And my husband just looked at me inferiorly. Don't blame me. The child always needs a complete family. When I opened my eyes again, I was back before I got gastric cancer. I proposed a divorce to Blake. Blake frowned slightly. This is the 3rd time this month. Aren't you tired? He didn't know that this was the last time I would make a fuss with him. Divorce. The son will be yours. I threw the divorce agreement in front of Blake. The tip of the pen scratched a long crack on the paper. He took off his gold-rimmed glasses and rubbed the center of his brows. This is the 3rd time this month. Aurora. Aren't you tired? I looked at the necklace around his neck. It was a couple style that he and Violet had bought. He didn't take my words or the divorce agreement I had left seriously. He just expressed his dissatisfaction as usual. Can you stop making a scene? I'm very busy. Can you stop being jealous and looking for trouble for no reason? Blake thought that all of this was a means for me to be jealous and throw a tantrum. I had always revolved around them before. So now he regarded me as more despicable than the grass. He had already been certain that I couldn't leave him or our son. So it didn't matter what he did. Did you go to the parents' meeting last Wednesday? I asked him. I went to my son's parents' meeting with a high fever that day. But I saw that there were little red flowers drawn on my son's homework book. And he mumbled, I want to play with Daddy and Mommy Violet. You were on a business trip in Hanghouse last Wednesday. You went to a concert with Secretary Violet. I said calmly. Watching his face change suddenly, I suddenly wanted to laugh. After a long time, he finally picked up the document and looked at it carefully. When he saw a certain part, a trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. He looked up and examined me. You actually don't want your son anymore? Are you sure? Sure. I don't even want that school district house in Beijing that you secretly bought for Violet. Hurry up. I just want a divorce. Looking at the way his pupils dilated in shock, I couldn't help but think of the way Violet showed off in front of my sickbed in my previous life. The things I only understood when I was dying in my previous life. I don't want to repeat the same mistakes. In this life, I don't want any of it. Just thinking of Ryan still makes me feel a heart-wrenching pain. He was the child I gave birth to after enduring great pain during my 10-month pregnancy. A child connected to me by blood. I watched him grow from a wrinkled baby to a toddler who could walk unsteadily. And then to a child who could run and throw himself into my arms with a smile, calling me Mom. I witnessed every little bit of his growth. Once, just thinking of my son gave me endless courage. Blake's cold face, Violet's provocation, and my mother-in-law's sarcasm. I could all ignore them. As long as I had Ryan. This child connected to me by blood. I am Ryan's mother. And I was willing to maintain this family for him. With him, I thought that no wind, rain, frost, or snow could defeat me. He is very smart, just like his father. He learned to speak and write very early. At the age of 3. When other children couldn't even write their own names. Elementary school arithmetic was no longer difficult for him. But gradually, he didn't cling to me so much. Didn't listen to me so much. And no longer called me Mom in that sweet tone. I put the flowers I bought into a vase. Ryan snatched them away and threw the flowers out viciously. Before I could react, the vase had toppled over and shattered following his movement. The broken porcelain pieces splashed and scratched a series of blood marks on my ankle. The floor was in a mess. It's because you only spend Daddy's money every day. Are lazy and don't work. That Daddy doesn't come home often. Stop wasting Daddy's money on these things every day. His anger seemed to be tangible. And my heart was painfully burned. I forced a smile and asked, who told you to say these things? Do you really think so? Hearing this, he suddenly started shouting loudly, everyone. It's your problem. I remained silent and started cleaning up the mess on the floor. My child started to believe the words of others but didn't believe me at all. I remembered my mother-in-law's occasional hints. Our Blake's business is so big now. It would be even better if there was someone who could help with his business. You just stay at home taking care of the child all day. What kind of future can you have? It's not hard to guess who taught him that. On his 5th birthday, Violet picked up Ryan and took him out to play secretly. I waited at the school for a long time. When I got anxious and was full of thoughts about child abduction and kidnapping, I called the teacher. But I learned that he had been picked up by Violet. He didn't come back until it was dark at home. Violet was holding Ryan, who had a big smile on his face, and Blake was following behind them. The three of them looked like a happy family, and I was the extra one. How could you pick up the child without notifying me? Do you know how worried I was? Violet chuckled, and her eyes were full of unquenchable pride. Sorry, Sister Aurora. We all forgot. Yes, but in fossel and sesh. They all forgot. They all forgot that Blake's wife was me and Ryan's mother was me. But it seemed that the one who should leave was me. Bad mom. I just want Mommy Violet and Daddy to play with me. Ryan rushed up and stepped on me, then quickly ran back and held Violet's hand. He looked up at Violet, his eyes shining brightly, as if waiting for praise. Violet stroked his head. Oh, I didn't teach you to do that. Though. When Blake saw this, he just frowned slightly and looked at me. That's enough. It's not like something serious happened. I stood opposite the three of them, feeling as if I had fallen into an ice cellar. He really is a lot like his father, even in the way that he likes Violet more. Later, I don't know when I started to often feel stomachaches and vomit blood, when the pain was too much for me to bear. I called Blake, hoping that he could accompany me to the hospital. If you have a stomachache, just order some medicine online. Why are you being so melodramatic? After he said that, I remembered that at 12 o'clock last Friday night, he had shown a worried expression after answering the phone. He perfunctorily said to me, "There's an important client. And it's urgent." Then he immediately went out. When I saw the photo on WeChat moments of Violet curled up in his passenger seat wearing a silk nightgown, I understood. What important client? It was just that Violet was sick. The so-called, "I'm being melodramatic," was just an excuse for him not to care about me. The difference between love and no love is really obvious. When the doctor saw that I came alone and had cancer, he looked at me with some sympathy. The cancer cells have already spread to the lymphatic system. If you are admitted to the hospital immediately, conservatively estimated, you still have 6 months. 6 months. 180 days. I had never thought that life could be converted into such specific numbers. After leaving the hospital, I went to the school to pick up Ryan and take him home. It was already dusk, and the shadows of the plane trees at the school gate were stretched very long. In the empty security room, Uncle Wang stuck his head out. "Are you Ryan's mom? Your child was picked up 2 hours ago." So I endured the pain and took a taxi home. Children's sneakers were scattered at the entrance. And there was also a pair of red high heels that obviously didn't belong to me. The cheerful ending theme of a cartoon came from the living room. My stomach hurt so much that I leaned against the wall and slowly squatted down. "You're back?" Ryan ran out of the kitchen holding a fried chicken drumstick that he had taken a few bites of. Violet openly tied my floral apron around her waist. "Sister Aurora, you're back just in time. Come and taste my signature sweet and sour spare ribs." It was as if she was the mistress of the house and I was the guest. Blake came out of the study at the right moment. When he saw me, he frowned. "What are you doing squatting on the floor? What kind of appearance is this? You're a mother already." The diagnosis report fell from my hand and was picked up by Violet. Her fingertips gently rubbed on the diagnosis report, and her coral-colored nails circled around the words, "Cancer metastasis." She smiled at me, and contempt showed in her eyes. Oh, Sister Aurora. I know you don't like me. But how could you forge a medical record?" Then she leaned in and squatted down, whispering in a voice that only I could hear, "Guess if he'll believe you?" Sure enough, after Blake heard what she said, he flew into a rage and didn't even think about it. He directly believed what she said. "Now you even have to pretend to be sick to deceive me? It's simply unreasonable." Violet stood up and hugged Blake, choking up and saying, "Blake, Wakai, don't be angry. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have come to see Ryan and you so often. Which made Sister Aurora like this." After saying that, Her tears fell like pearls with a broken string. Blake suddenly grabbed me and dragged me towards the storage room. Look at what you've driven her to. When the sound of the door being locked rang out, I heard him gently soothing, Violet, don't cry. I fainted from the pain in the storage room. When I woke up again, I felt even more pain in my body. The musty smell of the storage room entered my nose. I groped for my phone and the light from the screen illuminated the baby product piled up in the corner. Ryan's stroller, small clothes, and feeding bottles from his infancy. But now they were covered with a layer of dust. Ryan's laughter came from outside the door. Daddy. The game console that Mommy Violet bought for me has arrived. I opened the door. Ryan was so excited that his face was red. When he saw me, his smile immediately faded. He hid the game console behind his back. Mom, you're awake? I stared at him and remembered that I had said I would reward him with the game console after his final exams. But at that time, Ryan slammed the door and left. You're so stingy. Mommy Violet is still better to me. Ryan, go play in your room first. Violet gently stroked his hand and turned around to look at me with a worried expression. Sister Aurora, do you want to sit down first? Your face looks so pale. As she said that, she was about to help me. Smelling the perfume on her, I shook off her hand. When Blake saw this, he pulled her away. Stop being crazy. Violet was being kind enough to help you. You really don't know how to appreciate kind. Am I crazy? Then why don't you say who drove me crazy? Blake, since when did this start? Who did you really go to see every time you said you had an important client? Now you brought her into the house so openly. Do you think I don't know what's going on between you two? Do you think I can't smell the perfume on you? Can't you hear Ryan calling her mom? Enough. Blake kicked over the trash can. Is it interesting to be so suspicious all day long? Look at what you're like now. He tugged at his tie. And I saw the red marks on his neck. I suddenly started laughing. Laughing until tears streamed down my face. Ryan rushed over and threw a transformer at me. Bad mom. You're so noisy. We're always arguing. Violet's mom and dad are never like this when they're together. I stared blankly at my son's face. My stomach churned violently. And I stumbled into the bathroom, leaning over the toilet and spitting out a large mouthful of blood. Violet's exclamation came from outside the door. Blake, go and take a look quickly. Is something really wrong with Sister Aurora like this? Blake's footsteps stopped outside the door. Have you had enough of making a scene? There should be a limit to pretending to be sick. I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth and looked at myself in the mirror with a face as pale as paper. I really want to know what they'll be like when they see my dead body. Will they still be able to be together with a clear conscience and confidently? Before long, I was still admitted to the hospital. During that time, the three of them came to visit me several times. Violet would also secretly show off from time to time that my son and husband now like her more. They still thought I was just putting on an act. I really didn't have the strength to explain or argue anymore. No one can wake up someone who is pretending to be asleep. Let's more. There were 3 of them. The patient needs to be admitted to the ICU immediately. The doctor pushed his glasses. Upon hearing this, Blake picked up the stack of test reports and looked at them. His face grew paler and paler as he read the contents. Please sign. The patient's family member. The doctor tapped on the critical illness notice. Blake's hand holding the pen rumbled slightly involuntarily. The pen dropped to the ground with a snap. When he picked up the pen, the door opened, revealing my body with many tubes inserted. After signing, he suddenly turned to the hospital bed and looked at me. He reached out as if he wanted to touch my hand. But when he was about to touch it, he quickly withdrew his hand as if he had been pricked by a needle. Looking at my weak and dying appearance, Blake took 2 steps backward in a row, almost knocking over the treatment cart. Please calm down. Family member. The nurse held him back. The patient now needs to immediately. Violet suddenly pressed her temple. Blake. I feel so dizzy. She fell limply into Blake's arms. Blake quickly caught her around the waist. I'll take you to the emergency room. Seeing this, the nurse tried to stop him. Mr. Blake, let out a low sigh. Your wife is now. Get out of the way. Blake roared, and Violet in his arms trembled slightly. Don't you see she's about to faint? Blake still carried Violet and left. After that, I watched my own death from a very strange perspective. It turns out that people really have souls. I watched without any emotion as the doctor announced the time of death. I watched as Blake still thought the doctor was lying to him after receiving the news. When he came back, the doctors in white coats were removing the life support equipment. He stared blankly at the empty pain relief pump, and the infusion tube was still swinging in midair. The doctor handed over the confirmation form. When the people from the funeral home wrapped me in a white cloth, Blake suddenly roared, "Be gentle. She's afraid of the cold." But he stepped back in horror when my head was about to be put into the coffin. Ryan squatted in the corner charging his game console, and suddenly looked up and asked, "How many days is Mom going to pretend to be dead?" Violet sighed softly on the side. If Sister Aurora had confessed her illness earlier. I watched everything calmly until the iron door of the incinerator closed and my body completely turned to ashes. Until my consciousness dissipated. But I didn't expect that when I regained consciousness, I actually went back to the time before I got gastric cancer. It's really a mercy from heaven. Just sign it quickly. I looked at Blake's cold and distant face in front of me. I'll give you 2 days to calm down. I advise you to think it through clearly. Don't come back to me later to make peace and ask for our son. He closed the divorce agreement without giving me a chance to argue. After years of being together, I know there's no room for negotiation at this time. It's always been that whatever he says goes. I turned around and left to pack my luggage. After packing, I realized that there were very few of my things in this house. After searching around a few times, I couldn't even fill a single suitcase. In this house, although she hadn't moved in, there were traces of Violet everywhere. A pearl-earring of Violet's was stuck in the gap of the piano keys. And a dress that Blake had bought for her, but hadn't given her yet, was placed on the table. The hydrangea flowers in the yard had been torn off because she was allergic to pollen. I opened the drawer at the bottom of the cabinet. A pink letter came into view. That was a letter I had written to Blake. Blake was a well-known campus heartthrob in high school. He had almost no flaws except for his poor family background. I didn't care because my family situation wasn't bad. I chased after him every day to ask questions. As time went by, everyone tacitly knew that I liked him. In order to help him and make his life better, I paid him twice the market price to tutor me, and brought him breakfast every morning after getting up early. Watching him go from being a bit thin to being strong, I felt extremely satisfied inside. If we get into the same school after graduation, can you be with me? I handed this letter to him with both hands the day before the college entrance examination. He lowered his eyes and remained silent for a long time. Okay. So I studied even harder. Just to be with him. After the college entrance examination, he gave this letter back to me. And I opened it. There was a short reply below, "Okay." At that time, I just thought that he was a man of few words and introverted. I was overjoyed that I could finally be with him. I even couldn't help but think that his handwriting was really vigorous and thick with that simple word "okay." But it was a long time later that I learned that he had only agreed to me because of Violet. He had always liked Violet. Violet was like the blazing summer sun. And Blake happened to be the frozen snow mountain. But the sun doesn't shine on just one person. Violet was also with a wealthy and wayward school bully in the school before the college entrance examination. He only agreed to me because he was stimulated. The marriage was even more of a joke. I was the one who proposed marriage back then. He hesitated for a long time but still agreed. And I foolishly thought that he just had a cold attitude towards emotions and didn't have any special thoughts. Now everything is just being put back on track. I dragged my suitcase and left this house. 2 days passed quickly. Blake sat opposite me. "Have you thought it through?" I replied coldly, "You sign it." He looked up at me and signed the paper neatly. "The child will be mine from now on. Don't regret it." "I won't. Don't worry." My son rushed over when I was pressing my fingerprint. The 8-year-old little boy held a Iron Man action figure and screamed, "Go away. Don't think I'll miss you. I like Mom Violet more." That toy was a birthday gift from Violet. The scarf I knitted for him had long been thrown into the trash can. "Then that's just right. I don't want you either," I heard myself say. Whether it was deliberately saying the opposite or speaking from the heart, It has nothing to do with me anymore. I'm already tired. After coming out of the Civil Affairs Bureau after registration, I took the taxi directly to my new home. My friend Joy called to ask about my current situation. We made an appointment to have dinner in the evening. Sitting in the food stall, Joy drank cup after cup. She hugged me and cried loudly for a long time. Until I felt that she had cried out the tears for 2 lifetimes for me. She sobbed and said, "You should have broken up a long time ago. You've finally seen the light. No matter what happens in the future, we'll only go uphill from here. Let that scumbag man and the slutty woman wait and see. Without them, you'll only live a better life." I stroked her hair and choked up. "Yes, Kalakoyar. No matter what, we'll only go uphill from now on." Watching her leave the Civil Affairs Bureau, Blake sat in the car and smoked for a while. He asked his assistant beside him, "Why do you think she doesn't even want the child?" The assistant smiled awkwardly. "Generally, when a woman doesn't want a child, it's to make it easier for her to remarry. It's more difficult to remarry with a child." Seeing that Blake's sighs were a bit deep, the assistant didn't dare to continue. When he got home and looked out the window at the lights of thousands of families, he suddenly thought of the child again. Then he remembered that his son had gone to Sonia to play with Violet a week ago. He had allowed it. And Aurora hadn't said anything at that time. She just stared at him silently, with a few strands of broken hair hanging down in front of her forehead, looking lonely and vulnerable. In the middle of the night, he actually heard her broken sobs. But at that time he just thought she was making a big deal out of nothing. It was just that the son was going to play for a week, and it wasn't like they were going to harm him. Was it really necessary to cry like that? He still hasn't figured it out until now. Is it to make it easier to remarry? Blake stood by the windowsill and murmured to himself. He didn't actually cheat on her or with Violet. He admitted that he had indeed liked Violet passionately. At that age, she was really dazzling. It was hard not to be moved by her. And he couldn't see anyone else in his eyes at that time. He also admitted that her aura had indeed been very good to him. But he really didn't have love for her aura at that time. He sat there all night until the sun gradually rose. The dazzling sunlight scattered on the leaves. He suddenly remembered the light in her aura's eyes when she proposed to him. "I know you're not very passionate about feelings. But I can wait for you to understand slowly. I really want to spend the rest of my life with you. Is that okay?" The first time she took the initiative, there was a pink flush on her cheeks. And she leaned limply into his arms. Her eyes looking at him were full of tenderness, as if they were about to overflow. After she gave birth, her face was pale, but she still forced a smile and asked him to hold the child. But he couldn't remember what he had said at that time. He wasn't a heartless machine. He had indeed been moved by her in countless small moments. It was just that Violet's return made him think of his former fantasies again, just to fulfill his past regrets. He really was just confused for a moment. It doesn't matter if they're divorced. Sooner or later, she'll come back and beg him. She loves the child so much. And with such a long relationship, she can't let go. Blake firmly extinguished the cigarette and went downstairs to drive to the company. After I moved back to my newly bought house, I quickly adopted a Siamese cat. Previously, because both he and our son were allergic to cats, I had never been able to keep one. And now I finally have my own home. I no longer have to secretly save cat videos on my phone. For the little cat, I get up early every day to go to the market to buy fresh meat and make cat food myself. As soon as I get out of the elevator at the door of my house, the smell of sandalwood mixes with the ink smell of the cardboard boxes wafts towards me. In the backlight, there stands a figure with broad shoulders and long legs. He holds a cardboard box with one hand, and his well-defined fingers are pressing against the bottom of the box. When he sees me looking at him, he suddenly rubs the tip of his nose in a flustered manner. I look at him in confusion. "Hello. I'm the new neighbor who just moved in. I live right next door to you." As he speaks, he points to the door of the neighboring house that isn't closed tightly. There are still many cardboard boxes at the door. They should all be packed luggage that hasn't been put into the house yet. He opens the box in his hand to show me, and then hands the box to me. "Don't worry. It's not anything dangerous. Please do accept these." This box contains earplugs and some newly bought fruits. I instinctively take it. I look at him in confusion. Why are you giving me these? I have a beagle. And it might be a bit noisy later. He scratches his already fluffy hair. And a few strands of hair stick up rebelliously. There is a somewhat embarrassed smile on his face. These are an apology gift for you. I nod to show that I understand. After saying goodbye to the neighbor, I enter the house. It's another weekend. And I take Dudu out for a walk. From a distance, I see a little figure squatting by the roadside, looking at the pedestrians passing by. It looks like he's lost. When I get closer, I realize it's Ryan. Why are you here alone? Where are your dad and your new mom? Ryan looks at me with his wet eyes. And the rims of his eyes are slightly red. As if he's been crying. If it were the old me, I would probably be extremely heartbroken and quickly pick him up to comfort him. But now, surprisingly, my heart is as calm as still water. What does he want to do by coming over here looking so pitiful? Before he can answer, Aunt Wang, who often gives me fresh shrimp, calls me first, Mama Dudu. Come here. These are the shrimp for our Dudu. As she speaks, she stuffs the bag containing fresh shrimp into my hand. Dudu skillfully rubs against her legs and feet, extremely happy. She keeps stroking Dudu's head. So cute. It already recognizes me. So cute. So cute. I see that Ryan originally opened his mouth to call me. But when he hears Aunt Wank call me, Mama Dudu, he immediately gets up and runs away. I see the tears that well up in his eyes and spill over in an instant. I also know what he has misunderstood, but it doesn't matter anymore. Compared to the tumor, the pain inflicted by the son I raised with my own hands is even more agonizing. It hurts both my body and my heart. I don't want to recall those things. But the more I don't want to, the more I can't control it. At that time, Violet was standing behind Ryan. Ryan? Didn't you want to show Mom your new work? Ryan unfolds the family portrait drawn with colored pencils in front of me. In the picture, a man in a black suit is holding the hand of a little boy. On the other side, holding his hand is a woman wearing a beige dress and having wavy curly hair. My hair isn't wavy and curly. That's not me. It's Violet. So cute. Violet covers her face and giggles. On her ring finger, there is clearly a wedding ring. I once saw this ring in the drawer. At that time, I thought it was a surprise that Blake was going to give me. So I pretended not to see it and put it back. I waited for a long time, but I never saw him give it to me. I thought he was too busy and had forgotten. It turns out he didn't forget. It's just that the person he wanted to give this ring to wasn't me. She looks at me triumphantly, and then gently strokes Ryan's head. As if she doesn't think the stimulation is enough, she asks him again, Ryan? What would you do if your mom can't play with you anymore? It doesn't matter. I've long wanted a new mom. Mommy Violet, would you like to marry my dad? I want you to be my new mom. He takes Violet's hand and looks at her eagerly, okay? The intense pain in my stomach seems to have transferred to my heart. I'm in so much pain that I can't speak. Tears keep streaming down my cheeks. In a trance, I remember that when I had a fever once, the little Ryan stood on tiptoe by my bed and kept crying, Mommy, make the pain go away. Fortunately, having fulfilled me, everything has started over. After watching Ryan run away, I make a phone call to inform Blake of the location and let him come to find his son himself. I hang up the phone immediately before the other side can say anything. After walking Dudu, I go straight home. Whether he will go to find the child or not has nothing to do with me. I'm just doing it out of humanity and kindly informing him. 77 Blake has long taken Aurora's phone number out of the blacklist. He has been waiting for a long time. He hasn't received a call from her. His temper has become more and more irritable as time goes by. She hasn't begged him to take her back for such a long time. Doesn't she care very much about her son? At least she should contact him once for the sake of her son. He can't figure it out either. Why did he only find her annoying when she was around? After she left, why does he think of her all the time? It's just that there is one less woman. There are women like her everywhere. Why does he feel that the house suddenly seems very empty and strange? Was the house this big before? His son has also become more and more disobedient. From time to time, he will ask him, "When will mom come back? I want to eat the shrimp and tofu soup that mom makes. I want mom to tell me a bedtime story." Listening to him keep saying, "Mom. Mom. Mom." It's not like they can't live without Aurora. He is very annoyed. So he simply hires 2 nannies and tells his son to ask the nannies if he needs anything. Fortunately, hadn't fulfilled Wyant's sigh. He finally waits for her call. The confusion and anger in his heart dissipate along with her call. He has long known that she will definitely regret it. She must be calling to beg him to take her back. He feels proud for once. It's really difficult for her to have endured such a long time just to be jealous and throw a tantrum. But before he can figure out how to laugh at her, she quickly finishes speaking and hangs up. It turns out it's to pick up the son. Presumably, it's an excuse to see him. She still can't bear to part with him. Otherwise, why would she call the son over? If she knew it would be like this, why did she make such a fuss in the first place? He stops all the work at hand and drives there directly. As the twilight deepens, the lights in the residential area turn on one after another. His son is huddled beside the bushes, with tears all over his face. Mom already has another child. She really doesn't want me anymore. He looks around blankly. Aurora isn't by his son's side. I carry the express box into the corridor. I find that the sealed bag hanging on the doorknob in front of my house is glistening white under the voice-activated light. The chilled fresh salmon exudes a cool feeling to the packaging. On the sticky note, there is a round-headed beagle dog sticking out its tongue. The line of writing at the bottom is very powerful. An extra meal for Little Buy's good partner. It's obviously given by Ripple next door. This is already the 3rd time this month. Last week, it was freeze-dried cod. And the week before last, it was dried chicken breast. The DOU snack cabinet is almost filled up like an aquarium by the neighbors feeding. So I simply knock on the neighbor's door. After a while, the sound of slippers shuffling comes from inside. A puff of steaming heat first sticks out from the crack of the door. Ripple stands there with half-wet hair, holding a loose bath towel that is stuck on his hip bone. His collarbone still has a light pink color after taking a shower. The water droplets that haven't been wiped clean at the end of his mermaid line are sliding down the groove of his sos muscle towards the depths. Little Bye squeezes out from between his legs, and its wet nose rubs against the hem of my pants. At this moment, I suddenly understand why some people like to watch those scenes of people being wet. It's really alluring. When he sees it's me, he quickly lowers his eyes and turns his head in a fluster. His Adam's apple bobs, and the tips of his ears are so red that they seem to be bleeding. Why does he act as if I'm the one who's not dressed properly? Sorry. I'll go change my clothes and come right away. Wait a moment. Right away. He quickly steps back, and the door isn't closed. I haven't asked him about his age in detail before, but I've already started to wonder if he's a college student. Otherwise, why would he be so shy? I curiously peek inside. The armrest of the worn-out sofa is wrapped with hemp-rope, and there are rat and weaves tied around the legs of the coffee table with mottled scratch marks to prevent biting. This is very much in line with my imagination of a person who keeps a beagle. I withdraw my gaze. In less than 2 minutes, Ripple quickly comes over wearing a loose gray hoodie and pants. Sorry for keeping you waiting. Did you have something to ask me just now? I waved the fresh keeping bag to indicate, you've given too much. If you keep giving more, Dudu should be renamed Fat Do. As a return, would you like to come to my house for dinner? Is it too much trouble for you? He lowers his head and rubs the tip of his canvas shoes. And the end of his sentence is drowned out by the clicking sound of Little Bye scratching at the door frame. No. So would you like to come? Okay. Thank you. It's really too much trouble for you. Bring Little Bye over. I'll make a meal for it as well. When the warm yellow light floods over the dining table, he is sitting upright next to Dudu's cat bed. The sofa looks especially small under him. His knees are held together stiffly, and he is holding a mug with a cat pattern in his hand. Finally, Maya. I finish the meal amidst his compliments. He also takes the initiative to wash all the dishes. Please let me wash them. Otherwise, I'll feel really embarrassed. The 2 furry balls roll around on the carpet. And finally Little Bye pushes the toy ball to the side of my slippers. Ripple lowers his head to hide the smile at the corner of his mouth. The sleeves of his hoodie are rolled up to his elbows. And the fresh claw marks and old scars on his forearms from a crisscrossed pattern. I stroke little by. Sitting on the sofa at this moment, I suddenly have a feeling that time is passing peacefully. The smell of disinfectant in the corridor makes my nose feel sour. I instinctively clench the medical examination form tightly. Great. In this life, I don't have gastric cancer. And I'm in very good health. When I look up, I just happen to see Violet coming out of the obstetrics and gynecology clinic. Supporting her waist, Violet is walking in front. And her hand is carefully protecting her stomach. At a glance, it's obvious that she's pregnant. Blake is walking behind. With a look of impatience on his face. His new wife is pregnant. And he still has a bad temper. I think I made a very wise decision to divorce him. It would have been better if I could have seen him clearly earlier. Sister Aurora is also here for a medical examination? We just finished the prenatal checkup. The doctor said the baby is very healthy. The end of her voice is sickly sweet. When Violet sees me, she quickly takes Blake's arm. Congratulations to you too. I reply indifferently. Blake finally looked up. And his gaze swept over the ring finger of my left hand. There was no longer any trace of a wedding ring. Ripple came trotting over, holding a cup of hot cocoa in his arms. The hood of his sweatshirt slid down to his shoulders with his movement. And there were still water droplets on the tips of his hair. Violet's eyes lingered on Ripple's ear studs and ripped jeans for a couple of times. Is this your boyfriend? He looks like a college student. Blake's expression instantly turned unpleasant. Violet, on the other hand, seemed quite satisfied. You two look really good together. I wish you a long and happy relationship. I replied. The same to you. Violet smiled even more brightly. It's so great to be young. Unlike us, who are going to be parents. Before she could finish her sentence, Blake grabbed her and dragged her towards the elevator. Her high heels made short, screeching sounds as they scraped against the floor. Ripple stuffed the warm paper cup into my palm. It's really nice. I have a healthy body and a free life. I was pruning the hydrangeas when Joy called me. Joy's voice on the other end of the phone was accompanied by a faint crackling sound of the signal. Guess who I saw? I smiled. I don't even need to think. It's Blake and the others. Right? As I was speaking, I added 2 drops of nutrient solution to the spray bottle. I accidentally came across the news last week that the capital chain of their company broke. It's more than that. The Industry and Commerce Bureau even went to seal the building. Violet kept making trouble with excuses and forced Blake to fire the finance manager. As a result, the new accountant ran away with the money. But that's not the most shocking part. Joy suddenly lowered her voice. The most amazing thing is that my cousin works at the identification center and said that Blake took 3 paternity test reports last week. I couldn't help but laugh. Didn't Blake notice anything when he accompanied Violet for the prenatal checkup last week? 3 reports. He suspected that Violet had affairs with the gym trainer, the bar owner, and her first love. And you know what? Guess what the result was? Joy held back her laughter. None of them are the father. Everyone knows that the baby in Violet's belly isn't Blake's at all. Violet must be having a hard time now. Because there are so many messy things at home. No one is taking care of Ryan either. You know what your former mother-in-law is like. If she's asked to take care of the child, she won't do anything at all. Except maybe just blabbering about it. I aimed the spray bottle at the sunlight and watched as a miniature rainbow appeared in the water mist. Do you want to go on a self-driving tour together? Sure. It's just the weekend today. I'll come to your place to find you later. Before hanging up, Joy added. Those 2 scumbags deserve it. And that ungrateful brat too. When the doorbell rang, I thought it was Joy. So I opened the door without thinking. I saw Blake wearing the windbreaker that I had given him before. It seemed that he hadn't taken good care of it, and the clothes were a bit wrinkled. The Ryan in his arms was wearing a school uniform that was obviously 1 size too small. Mom. I know I was wrong. There were red bloodshot eyes under Ryan's bangs. This is the fermented glutinous rice balls that you like the most. Blake took out a thermos bucket from a torn plastic bag. And the thick soup dripped onto the doorstep along the crack. I boiled it all night. Just like when we first got married. Are they trying to make me take them back? Do they really think I'm that stupid? I didn't want to listen to what they had to say at all. I was about to close the door directly. Blake suddenly used his knee to block the door that was about to close. The veins on his neck bulged, and the thermos bucket hit the doorstep. The sweet and fishy smell of the fermented glutinous rice mixed with the smell of last night's cigarette smoke on him wafted towards me. Just 5 minutes. I really miss you. I've been recently. I took half a step back and pressed the emergency call button. Does the resident need any help? The moment the intercom rang loudly, Blake released his hand as if he had been electrocuted. Mr. Blake, had info sorry. Please cooperate. In less than 2 minutes. Two security guards rushed out from the fire escape, pinned Blake's arms behind his back, and took him away. This speed was worth the money I spent. I let out a sigh of relief and then waited for joy at home. I really don't know what Blake was thinking. Actually coming to beg me to take him back. When you're extremely speechless, you really just want to laugh. Joy leaned against the door frame, munching on an apple. Aren't you really taking Ripple? He was looking at you longingly. And you actually had the heart to refuse him. I shook out the moisture-proof mat in the trunk, and half a yellowed map of the Sichuan-Tibet line fell off from the interlaber. It was the one we used during our honeymoon trip with Blake 10 years ago. I threw the map into the trash can. Of course. It's the most fun when it's just the two of us. I've wanted to go on a self-driving tour with you for a long time. Let's go. Let's go. When the twilight covered the mountain ridge, Dudu curled up in the back seat and fell asleep. I turned off the navigation prompt sound and let the mountain road carry us glide deeper into the night. The GPS red dot was drawing an arc on the map that was completely opposite to the one 10 years ago. The moonlight spilled onto the winding mountain road, looking like a galaxy. I suddenly remembered the suitcase I packed on the night of the divorce. At that time, I thought I had packed my entire life into it. Only now did I realize that the most important thing is myself. Being myself is more important than anything else. I will never stay in one place and revolve around someone again. I won't be afraid of love and marriage just because I misjudged someone once. But these will never be the whole of my life. I will never seek happiness from others again. An independent and free soul is the source of happiness. I'm definitely not living just for love.